This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to what has been a very bizarre day to a Wednesday in mid-June as the Edmonton Oilers continue to get through into the offseason. The Stanley Cup champions now crowned. And, well, all of a sudden, right, it feels like we're living in a parallel Twilight Zone universe right now because things have gone a little sideways in oil country this morning, and we'll discuss all that in a matter of moments. But yeah, it's been a day, and I'm glad you're aboard here on Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for supporting me and what I'm doing here because the biggest thing is, as we'll get into the news today, you just never know when it's going to be over. And when it's over, it's over. So we'll discuss that in a matter of moments, friends. Though, if you're new to the channel, I want you to consider hitting that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV. Stick around and stay tuned for more off-season coverage. So you got the purple shirt on. That means we're getting serious about something today. A little bit of rodeo action out in Gleason today. So that's kind of why we've got a 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m. episode today instead of the usual 5, 6 o'clock after work kind of situation. But let's cue it up. I don't remember which graphic's which, so we're going to talk about whatever's first, whatever pops up first, and this is what's going to pop up first. I thought that was that, but you know what? This is kind of the breaking news in Edmonton this morning. Everything appeared normal by Twitter social feeds on TSN1260 as of about 8:30 this morning, and then just shortly after 9, or somewhere between 9:10 and 9:15, Jason Gregor tweets out the bottom tweet, and then the statement there from TSN1260 from the Oilers Nation's Bagged Milk comes out with the kind of the full explanation. But TSN1260 no longer some great people within the Edmonton sports broadcasting landscape have now been given the ultimatum to move on without TSN1260 in their lives. And it is quite a shocker. Like I said, it's a parallel universe situation, especially once we get into the second half of this video. The Edmonton Oilers news for the day is it's just one thing after another this morning that's like, what is going on here? Excuse me, what? And well, that's kind of where we find ourselves. So we'll review Jason Gregor's tweet here, who has quite a heavy affiliation with Oilers Nation. So I'm sure he will be just fine. He did tweet out in the end of this. You'll see kind of a teaser for what's coming next. But times are changing. TSN1260 has decided to shut down. It was an amazing run. Thank you for all listening. You'll hear from Connor Haley, Jason Strudwick, and Jason Gregor very soon. Jason Gregor promises you in this tweet. Thanks again for listening to the show for the past 20 years. So this is not a product that failed by any means. I think the most recent radio numbers in Edmonton showed that TSN 1260 was actually starting to dominate and climb the charts a little bit in comparison to how Oilers Now with Bob Stauffer and things on 630 Ched have done. If you read Kurt Levin's 9 Things article every weekend or every once a month, you'll usually find a 9-thing list about the broadcast landscape, the media landscape in Edmonton when it comes to covering the Edmonton Oilers. And for the past several years, it's always been Oilers Now at the top of the chart. This past spring, and pointed out by Dustin Nielsen of TSN 1260 as well, kind of pointing out that TSN 1260 took some big strides and actually were right there in the tops of the categories for a couple of things in the spring quarter of 2023. So very interesting to see this move being made. I'm sure we'll get full explanations here later, but we'll read the TSN 1260 Edmonton statement here as well, saying, first off, they have news to share about changes to TSN 1260. Like I said, everything was normal as of 8:30, and then as of 9 a.m. Mountain Time on June 14th, TSN 1260 is off air. So yes, it is 9:30 on June 14th as I record this, so about half an hour ago, TSN 1260 went off the air. The realities of AM radio in the broadcast media landscape have made the change unavoidable. We want to thank our advertising partners, sponsors, and everyone who has contributed to the station over the years, but we especially want to thank you, our listeners. Thank you for welcoming TSN 1260 in your homes, cars, and lives for so many years. So a sports giant, you could say, in Edmonton, because TSN 1260, a little bit more overarching sports content than I think maybe 630 Ched provides on the AM radio waves in Edmonton. From basically what I gather, right? TSN 1260. You kind of get how TSN works their radio stations if you've followed TSN at all over the past 20, 25 years, as the broadcast landscape in Canada has really transitioned and changed heavily over those years. So interesting to see. And like I said, this was one of those ones that catches me off guard because, right, this is a respected outlet that brings us news on the Oilers year in, year out, and now we've lost it here. Whatever the reasons may be, they're saying the realities of AM radio and the broadcast media landscape. So for reference, for those of you from Edmonton or for those of you outside of Alberta, here in Calgary, we just saw over the past 6 months a station that was a classic rock station, Q107.3, transitioned to QR107, which is now a talk radio station on FM radio. And I think too it was a tweet from TSN 1260's Dustin Nielsen this past few months that was talking about cars continuing to carry AM radio even though they're trying to phase it out of manufacturing in new automobiles. So I guess, yeah, you know what, it's one of those things. Trust me, I know how bad a shape the broadcast media is in Edmonton, well, not in Edmonton, but in Canada in general. And it's just really unfortunate to see this come because this is obviously, as I said, a very respected outlet here in Edmonton over the course of the past 20 years, right? That's a 20-year institution now lost on Edmonton airwaves. Now, talk about loss for the Edmonton Oilers. This is where we get into the second half of the video, my friends. A Twilight Zone day, right? That's what I was saying right off the top, is Ken Holland had a Q&A with Daniel Nugent-Bowman of The Athletic, who I need not tell you, The Athletic has had a terrible week as well as their business model once again shifted. Well, here's some news on Noah Philp from a Q&A between Ken Holland and Mr. Daniel Nugent-Bowman of The Athletic, Oilers reporter for The Athletic. So they re-signed Philip Kemp, did the Oilers a little while ago. Bouchard, Costin, Lavoie, McLeod, and Noah Philp, and Olivier Rodrigue. The question was, will you qualify all of them? The answer is yes. Although the follow-up from Ken Holland immediately is, now Noah Philp is not playing hockey next year. He's made a decision to call it a career. So that is shocking because we planned on having him in the bottom six throughout most of next year. Obviously, right, we acquired Jaden Gruby to replace him on the farm, and now that is just not possible to have him around. He has called it a career, whatever the reasons may be. We have to just respect it and move on, but I'm hoping all is good because the next line is, he told us he wants to be around Calgary and close to his family and friends. For personal reasons, he's not playing hockey. So whether we ever find out what the real reason is, whether we find out is whatever happens or why it happened, I'm just wishing that Noah Philp has the best moving on from hockey and that hockey always has a place in his heart because, unfortunately, if it is a move because of something that happened because of hockey, we're hoping that he can find a way to keep in touch with the game that meant so much to him over the first 24 years of his life, right? It's unfortunate to see someone have to leave the game of hockey this young. He's 24. He played a couple of years in the WHL, then moved on to the Stockton Heat for a couple of years, games playing with the Calgary Flames, and then ended up going to the University of Alberta, signing with the Oilers and the Bakersfield Condors, playing a full season this past year, 37 points in 70 games, and now calling it a career in his mid-20s to go back home to Southern Alberta, my territory of this great province. All right. So he made great progress. We liked him. We wanted to re-sign him. We offered him a 2-year contract. We were anxious to see what he could do in training camp, but he's not interested. He is done. So Noah Philp, no longer a member of the Edmonton Oilers, no longer a member of our hockey family in terms of professional hockey. So now we all of a sudden see what happens with this Oilers depth squad because he was going to be that key piece, right? Whether he was a 13th, 14th forward, whether he was a bottom six centerman, whatever the case might be for Noah Philp, he is no longer part of the plans moving forward the rest of the offseason and into next year. he is done with hockey at current. So that is a huge blow. And when you take both of these stories combined together and you look at what a day it's been, by 9:36 in the morning on a Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 in Edmonton, wow, you know what? It's a wild one, and one for the kind of memory as you go through the rest of the summer. So, friends, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. I really do appreciate it. I am off on the road to Galicia here in the next about half hour, hour and a half, whatever the case might be, just waiting for the phone call to come in. But I will talk to you soon, whether it be later tonight or tomorrow. We'll discuss all the latest in Edmonton Oilers land as soon as we can yet again. I am up on out of here. Have a great day, folks. We'll talk to you soon.